What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology Retold action in the right-hand corner of the map, playing as Fushi. His name is Keto Jody Severo Bones Jones. His opponent today in the left-hand corner of the map, the king of intelligence himself, it is Recon, and he is going to be playing some Poseidon. The map is Steppe. Everyone's favorite map in the world. Over here we've got Wu Hao Bo of Huangdi. Making those ranged soldiers get access to the, what's it called? The snare ability. Over here we've got Tusk of the Iron Boar. Hit points plus 10%. Over onto this one we've got Armor of Achilles. The vulnerability to hack minus 5%. And at the top of the map we've got ourselves Head of Orpheus. Question from Got Hate. How's the player base for Retold? It's doing very, very nicely, to be honest. We've had a huge, huge increase from the times of Vubli. And, yeah, the definitive edition, the extended edition, the not extended edition, the definitive edition, or the Retold, so to speak, is a lot of fun for me. I'm having a lot of fun playing. So we'll see how this game goes. But we've got ourselves Poseidon versus Fushi matchup, which I haven't seen a whole lot, but this matchup does fit a little bit into the mold, so to speak, of what I expect, where I expect Greek to have some success against China. So your average Zeus player, your average Hades player doesn't really want to build Hippias. Hippias are kind of slow-ish at 5.5 speed. They're not that slow, but they're slow-ish at 5.5 speed. So, you know, Hades and Zeus don't really want to build them. But when you're playing again with Poseidon, all of a sudden, well, I really want to build them because they're moving at 5.9 speed incredibly quickly. Very, very easy to use. Now, the reason I bring this up is because, you know, Zeus and Hades, they want to build hoplites. And what I think China does really, really nicely is eliminates infantry. Building infantry against China is really, really tricky for a period of the game. Once counter archers come into the mix, then all of a sudden it starts being somewhat fine. But yeah, the point is, in the early stages of the game, there's not really that answer for those archers without making cavalry. So I love the idea of making cavalry. But on top of this, the more in-depth sort of reasoning behind Hippias against the Chinese is the Chinese economy is mostly stored inside of this unit, the Kuaofu. Mostly. Peasants gather significantly slower, 0.88 wood per second there compared to the 3.3 wood per second. The Kuaofu also trains faster at only 30 seconds for 3 population worth of villager. So all in all, this Kuaofu here, building it makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't give you any food. It's pretty lackluster on the food situation. If I build Hippias, then that means that Keto, the Fushi player, needs to build Halberdier, which I don't want to build. So there you go. That's where the Hippias sort of train of thought comes from for Recon. And yeah, we'll see how things go here for him. As the Imperial Academy now up for Keto. And we'll see what he's going to be having in store for everyone here. As the Yatsu is out. And he is going to be going for an early Neja into something else. We'll see. As the Hippias, Atalanta, Centaur, Shenanigans will start to move across the map. Now, one reason why I personally think I prefer playing maybe Zeus or Hades against the Fushi in particular, but maybe less so against like Noir or Shenong, is I prefer having Restoration. Reason being, over having the Centaur. Reason being is the Centaur pretty hard to control in of itself, but also your opponent's got a pretty quick hero at 5 speed doing huge damage, and also the Pioneers, tough to deal with, tough to get this guy value, so to speak. But Recon here doing a great job controlling it. He's going to be controlling that one center forever. And you can actually see he's only got 1 villager on favor. So his plans Actually, he's got 2 villages on favor now. So maybe he does have a plan to build some more centaur out. But I think the normal plan, the plan that I would normally go for here as the Poseidon player, is actually build some Toxotes. And that might force out some Javelineers, but you can play around Javelineers nicely with good micro and good control. And the Javelineers are kind of quick, but you can play good position and get good raids in and do all the good stuff and make things work. That being said, like, you know, Fushi's always got some options. He's also got this really strong lightning weapons god power, but you've also got the ceasefire as well to counter that. But nonetheless, the Yatsa is in for Keto, getting a little bit of harassment into the main base as the Atalanta is now in hot pursuit. It does have 5.5 speed. Very, very quick. Will get away. Plus, it's also got a dash ability, so completely fine there with all the other good stuff. Now we see another stable coming down here for Recon. As he's looking at his resource stockpiles, wanting to get rid of that. A couple of houses coming down for Keto as well. Interesting house placement. I'm not sure if he's thinking this out in terms of like maybe just making some defensive situations for his main base, making it hard for Recon to get through with his Hippias by leaving little gaps and just trying to also get advantage out of his houses. He obviously is getting advantage out of his houses to some degree here, but I think there's some sort of thought process here for Keto on the defense there. As the Pegasus for Recon retreating back. Recon sees those Halberdier. The Yatsa here getting through as well, taking a little bit of damage. Atalanta will be able to catch up here with the snare in, and that looks like there might be a dead Yatsa. Indeed it is, as it goes down. Nice play there. Whenever you're trying to take out myth units, this is one of the reasons why Poseidon is so good early game against myth units, is because you can combine Atalanta with a Hippias. So the Hippias is going to get that snare in, slowing it down, and the Atalanta can get through. So with good micro, you can pretty much kill off everything. As the armory market now coming down for Keto. Relic's getting picked up at the top of the map as he's grabbing head of Orpheus. And we do have the very powerful Halberdiers with Master of Weaponry in. But there's just not that many of them, as it's looking like Recon is going to be able to overpower here with sheer numbers. Really, really nice. But Andy also gets medium Hippias in the middle of that fight as well. Loses like 1 Hippias. That was a terrible trade for Keto, and Recon is now going to find himself in an amazing position. Those sort of early fights, losing those sort of early fights, allows Recon to literally set up this game now however he wants. He can say, all right, Keto, let's start thinking about how you're going to control that second gold mine, because I'm going to spam out a whole bunch of units and we're going to just prevent you from doing that. Or he's going to say, okay, Keto, I'm going to grab a town center and you're not going to be able to grab one because I'm going to have my military there, so you're not going to be able to afford it without getting your military out as well to defend. And then you can go, okay. Or you can go, all right, Keto, you're stuck in the classical age now, needing to build out those military units. I'm going to go to the heroic age and get myself a tech advantage. He can literally pick any sort of angle he wants to go for at this moment and find himself a win in this game. That being said, if he's going to continue to spam out these Hippias and Keto is going to actually get out a hefty amount of Halberdiers here, it could be a little bit dangerous. So he does have to continue to react if he wants to go for the full army route. One thing here that is possible for the Fushi, and I think is probably something that is going to start happening a little bit later in the meta development. I do feel like this is going to be something that's going to actually happen. Right now, what Peach Blossom Spring is being used for is jumping ages. The longer we play Age Mythology, the less effective this is becoming in certain situations, right? And I feel like players are forcing people to get into those situations quite a lot as well already, but even more so it's going to start happening. What I assume is going to happen, though, is that Fushi players are going to work out, hey, jumping age isn't working. What if I just grab that Peach Blossom Spring at around the 8 to 9 minute mark, get myself an extra 1,000 food to play with which I'm already struggling with. And all of a sudden, I've got myself an extra 10, 20 halberdiers. 50 food, 1,000 food grabbed nice and quick. An extra 20 halberdiers. And I can win those fights. That's what I assume is going to be happening as the game continues to develop. But nonetheless, Granary, snipe down. Centaur coming through, getting a little bit of splash damage in over here. As the Najar tries to sneak in here. Great defense from Recon to keep those Centaur alive on the back, but the Pioneer's getting good damage here. And as you'd expect here, now with the numbers of Halberdier in, these Halberdier are now starting to get some incredible damage done. Recon completely overestimates his Hippias power there. He gets murdered on that fight and has to retreat back. And this is where I was saying, like, I think getting out those archeries, the Toxotes, and making those is a really, really important thing. And now Recon is kind of, he took that advantage and he's sort of thrown it a little bit, or a lot. And now Keto's in the driver's seat. Keto can grab the second town center. Keto can build the army out. Keto can go for whatever he feels like going for. As the villagers now coming over here to try and secure the gold mine. But Recon still has got himself some movement speed. Ooh. I don't know if he saw the villagers and retreated back or not, but the Halberdier are in to defend for the time being. As Golmang on the way now for Keto. As well. As Fushi grants you the strength through Yang. Yin and Yang. He's going to have some powerful options for the next 4 minutes or so. The funny thing about Yin and Yang is the way at which they timed it is like the most important points in the game for when you need to be strong. So if you want to do a timing at 12 minutes, you want to do a timing at 5-6 minutes, you can, you know, and then you get the economy to help you out. But a great raid in right here. Oh my god, he catches every single villager there. One villager surviving after all is said and done. One Hippie is going down for it. That was huge for Recon. He's in front on villagers by a hefty amount now. And Keto, he's got to be careful. He's got to be really careful moving forward in this game. Because he's building because Recon's building Toxotes out now. And if he continues to just spam out Halberdier or Fire Archers, neither of these units are good against the Toxotes. However, what Keto does do is he eats his Peach Blossom Spring that allows him to sneak to the Heroic Age here. No problems. And I think a lot of this is just because there was no Toxotes before in the fight before, but nonetheless. Sneaks to the Heroic Age. And Recon is going to be needing to chase a little bit here. That being said, Keto does go through Golmang instead of Nubar. Nubar has some sort of ability to snipe a town center. The problem with it is that it's very tricky to get your opponent caught out of position for you to actually make it happen. And Halberdiers aren't the best at doing that, as little bits of damage onto these Hippias, but Recon's going to be able to clean all of this up now. Now, Keto's got a couple of decisions to make. He sees the Toxotes now. He sees the Centaur. The decisions he has to make now is, okay, does he go into Javelineers? Or does he go into a whole bunch of White Horse Cavalry? That's Keto pulling back ever so slightly. We are going to be seeing Dionysus coming through. The big thing here for Keto as well now is he's got himself that second town center. I don't know how... He's probably just dropped it now. He's putting some farms down. But Recon doesn't know about this. So he doesn't know if he should drop his town center, if he should just keep on going in with units, charge into the main base, try and take the town center down. All of that stuff is going to be tricky. Taking houses out is always a good amount of value to have for yourself. as the Hippias are going to be just retreating off to the right-hand corner of the map. And there's that town center coming down for Recon now as he says, hey, I'm at full population. I may as well. He could say, just go to the Mythic Age. That's probably a thing. He should know that Peach Blossom Spring was already grabbed, so there's no like skipping of the Heroic Age that's possible for Keto. But he's going to be opted for that town center, playing a little bit more safe here. 3 town centers all coming up all at once. An interesting idea, to be honest. I would have much preferred to see this town center getting grabbed. I think this is something that I'm noticing a little bit too frequently from top players, is that you have this natural tendency to just grab your own back town center when you've got map control on your opponent. Realistically, you should just be saying, nope, this one and this one. Those are my town centers. I worked for map control. You're sitting in your base. I will take those 4 town centers, and we're going to play a 3 versus 2 town center game, rather than a 3 versus 3 potential town center game here. Now, obviously here, Recon does have security of the town center, so if Keto wants to push forward and grab this one anyways, he's going to have to work for it. But that being said, he does have some angles here with lightning weapons, potential ceasefire to help him get it up as well if it gets used, and all the other good stuff. But nonetheless, both players a little bit of calm before the storm here, as Keto has actually got himself 2 ballets up at the moment. So definitely not going for any sort of Mythic Age shenanigans. He's got himself out 1 Tao Wu. Recon looking for a little bit of pressure here as the Mummer comes in. Hydra goes down. Wow. It's such a weird unit. Don't you guys reckon this Sage? It's such a weird unit. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to harp on about it, as Recon now trying to break through this position. I don't think he needs to. This is one of the things that, like, you have to kind of have some patience to some degree. He doesn't really need to attack this spot. He doesn't need to kill this ballet. What he needs to do is plan a fortress over here and secure this position as well. And then all of a sudden, this gold mine's going to expire at some point. You're going to take a fight, and if you hold, you win. There's a halberdier falling over here, and Recon simply retreats away for the time being. As ballistics on the way for Recon as well. Gong Gong pre-queued for Keto. It's not really close to it, so it's a bit of a pipe dream at the moment, changing it over to Huang Di instead. I do think I prefer Huang Di over Gong Gong at the moment for Fushi, just on the fact that you're getting those upgrades for HP on all your units. 10% is a big deal. From that, I can't remember what it's called, something Silk, from the Silk upgrade. And that also affects your cavalry units as well. So if you combine it with this upgrade and the Huang Di upgrade, then all of a sudden you're getting 20% boosted cavalry, and they become very, very powerful. As we see Keto dropping another forest protection here. I think this is a bit of a blunder from Keto. He doesn't need to worry about the main base, but he has to take a fight here, or he's trying to take a fight here at the moment, as Recon's positioning is still really, really good. Meanwhile, the food coming in close to that 1200 to get to the Mythic Age. Centaurs falling. Sage going down. Hydra on the way. As the buildings getting cleaned up on this side. And we are going to be seeing Recon now. He's getting himself that 4th town center. Huang Di is on the way. I'm a little bit concerned about the 4 town center grab. Because you're not... Well, he is kind of behind on villages, so he will be able to catch up on those. But the reason I'm... Well, actually, no, he's at full pop. The reason I'm concerned about 4 town centers is just because this gives Keto the opportunity, so to speak, to break out of his base and hit a big timing with the Mythic Age. You get champion upgrades, you get the dragon, Yinglong. And then you can push forward and grab the town center back for yourself and secure your position. But nonetheless, a fortress coming down for Recon over here. As Keto wandering forward. A couple of machine workshops up as well. I'm not sure on the machine workshop. I guess he wants to get out siege weapons here. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense against the hippiest Toxotes. We'll see what his plan is. As now Hephaestus is clicked up for Recon. Just wanting to play this so absurdly safe. How are the armory upgrades looking for Recon? He's already got himself bronze weapons and he's deciding to go through Hephaestus. Normally, what we see is from top players is once they've started to slowly tech into armory upgrades, they say, all right, if we've got ourselves like half of tier 2 or a third of tier 2, we probably go Artemis because we're not going to gain that much from the Hephaestus upgrade. But obviously, Recon here says the only way I lose this game is resources. So if I can just get myself that boosted economy from Plentyvault, I'm never gonna have to worry. But Recon is now in the Mythic Age. He's got himself that Yinglong. Drops down onto this position, zapping the Hippias here as it flies forward. Very, very scary to deal with this one, but there is the fortress, there is the town center. Toxotes over here need to get over and help out on this one. There's one Metropolis does fall down. Keto going for a ballet on the front here as champion Halberdier is in. It's a hefty amount of Halberdier here, but realistically, Keto just needs to snipe down Toxotes, but a fantastic split from Recon. Bronze gets dropped down. Lightning weapons, not just yet here for Keto. He pulls back. His ballet will finish up. At the moment, it's 260 pop, though, for Recon. Keto's got a long road ahead of him to survive on this one as he pulls back to his favored, forest protection. Plentyvault gets dropped down. We do have the Yang Jian is in. Will that be enough of a help as the ballet falls? There is still this lightning weapons god power, which Keto has not dropped. He turns around and says, it's time to go. And Keto, or Recon says, I'll pull back a little bit. Bronze fades. The lightning weapons, will it be enough is the big question. And Recon says, yes, it is. I'm going to click ceasefire. I'm going to bail. And we'll start thinking about taking another fight a little bit later. However, Keto is now facing up against Recon's Mythic Age, Hephaestus. We've got the upgrade in. There's resources up the wazoo for Recon. He's going to get all of his upgrades now coming through in an instant. The upgrades for Keto looking pretty paper thin at the moment. Like, she's got pretty good ones. It's called Li Zhu's Silk. So he does have the opportunity now to actually go in onto these bad boys. They're heavy Tiger Cav. That's the unit he needs. And we're also seeing a huge amount of these little cute puppy dogs, three-legged beasts of shenanigans here. As Keto charging forward, one last attempt here. It looks like he's got to break out of his base and get another position as the Yinglong sniping down that backline beautifully there with all of that special damage. He's got to continue to snipe that though. Population differential 226 to 180 as Yinglong continuing to cause devastation to Recon's army, but the population differential is still standing fairly solid here. Those Hundun are working overtime to help prop Keto up, but his population has dropped down to 150. as the Tiger Cavalry coming through, sniping the Toxotes, sniping everything down. It looks like Keto can't really afford much. He's got tons of wood in the bank. Not much food. He's got 40 villagers on food, but it's just not enough. He needs to push that up to 50, up to even 60 villagers on food at the moment to support all of these Tiger Cavalry, as Recon now says it's time to get some Prodromus, some champion Prodromus out. Yeah, it's Sauron versus John Wick and company. As the raid up to the top side, double fortress coming down for Recon. Gonna get a little bit of damage onto this gold mine. The wall's coming up onto the corner to secure that position, meaning no trade route for Keto to get set up. As the heavy Tiger Cavalry, still not champion, coming through. Keto attempting to use his Yinglong on the back here to get some damage done. But Yinglong falls. And it looks like Recon holds here for just a little bit longer. Meanwhile, gold mine on this position here. 3,800 remaining. Petropoli sieging down the ballet as the Cloud Figure to attempt to hold. But in that moment, Keto says, I don't got it. Recon's got full population here. Full map control. Look at the Great Wall of Greece here. The Trojan Wall to some degree. As he secured the entirety of the map. And just a really well-played game here from Recon. I think Keto taking that fight early and losing, that he's going to learn from that. That was a big learning curve moment there about when to fight and when not to fight with those halberdiers. The halberdiers obviously clean Hippias up beautifully. We saw that in the second fight. But how many halberdier did he have? Not enough. We can actually take a look at the post game and dissect this just a little bit longer. See here, if we actually take a look at the actual military unit count for that first fight, boom, 17 to 12. That was it. And this was like 17 Hippias, right? Which are 3 pop. Plus that was an Atalanta. Plus it was also an extra Centaur or 2. Versus 12 2 population units. Yes, there was Nijar, but that was about it for the 3 pop dudes. So population count on that early fight, ever so slightly in front, but that was mostly because of the villages, right? If we go to civilian unit count, it's that slight advantage there for Keto at that moment, which means that, yeah, military advantage was just really, really powerful for Recon. And you can actually see that in the resource differential here as well. Double in that fight. Double. Nonetheless, if you guys enjoyed this game, please consider the follow on Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next game.